This great one as well from Glenn in Catford. We're talking about the planned demonstration by bikers this evening in Golden Square and scooter users from 8:45 protesting about the pound charge for parking in Westminster. Glenn in Catford reminds us we should also maybe be discussing the use of bus lanes because the Mayor is closing bus lane usage for motorbikes from today. Over to you on that one, 0207 224 2000.
Hang on. He's only just allowed it. Was it an experiment that didn't work then?
Well, I just think maybe they're going to review the evidence and return to it.
Oh, really?
I must confess,
because that was a big deal for them.
I haven't got the facts to hand, but apparently bus lanes will be closed to motorcyclists after today, or maybe even from today.
That only was in operation for because when I had a bike taxi taking me to the last acting job I've done in 3 years.
But that was about 9 months ago, Joe.
Yes, I know, on the bill. They were so happy about that. And, well, that was obviously just a pilot scheme. And right, Lee says, and this is a really good point no one else has made, Paul, a large amount of these new bike bays are for resident parking, so of no use to most bikers anyway. If it's only £5, maybe you wouldn't mind paying mine then, says Lee.
Hang on, that doesn't really compute, Lee, with all respect to you, because
I think it's a good point.
No, if the bike bays are for residents,
yes,
that means they're not parking in the other bays, thereby ergo, QED, freeing up those other bays. Surely. Think it through logically, Lee, and then text us back. 07786 200 949 and apologise.
Ming in Woking says, if a motorcycle parks in a car parking space, they must still pay or they will get a ticket, as I've had one already.
Let's say good morning now to Bert in Sutton. Good morning, Bert.
Hello, Paul and Joe.
Morning.
It's about the parking up there. The biggest problem is, everywhere else in Europe, you know, you're encouraged to ride a motorcycle into town. It is the best way to come into town. You know, it's just so much quicker, it's cleaner, it's better on the environment. Now, the other thing that you have with the parking in Westminster, what that's done, it's forced people to, you know, park further out.
Not force them, they choose to save £1 a day.
Well, yeah, but when you add that £1 up a day, Paul, it may not be a lot of money to you, but to some people on a budget, that's £5 a week.
It's a lot of money to me, Bert, and I'm exercised by things like, for example, I drive in here myself every morning to Marlow. When I cross coming in the congestion charge zone, I leave about 9:30. I pay £8 a day.
Yep.
To go home. Now, I haven't got a motorbike. I've never taken a test. I'm too much of a cowardly custard. I've got no option. There are no trains. But you have to sometimes make those choices if you live and work in London.
Yeah, of course, I understand that. But, of course, for people that do make that choice, that then increases the parking difficulty for the other people outside.
OK, listen, stay there, Bert, because we've got someone who may directly be able to respond to this from Westminster Council. We've got Councillor Danny Chalkley on the line. Hello, Danny.
Good morning to you.
Right, I don't know if you've heard Bert's case. What are your thoughts on motorcyclists then paying for charges?
Well, the first thing to say is that Westminster Council is not anti-motorcyclists. We very much support the use of motorcycles because we believe that people should have, as Paul just indicated, a choice. And
you're also very pro-money and you want to skin them for £5 a week.
Well, it's absolutely true that we have seen a very substantial increase in the number of motorcycles coming into Westminster over the last 10 years. The DFT estimate a 50% increase in the last 10 years in central London. And in August of last year, we did introduce a nominal charge, £1.50, on an experimental basis.
Nominal is £7.50. To earn that, to have that in your pocket, you've got to earn £10. So that's £10 out of everybody's wage a week.
Well, Paul, we did an extensive consultation exercise. We received a lot of feedback. And as a result of that, we've reduced the charge to £1 a day, as you indicated.
And certainly a lot cheaper than what I'm paying to park my car, albeit not in Westminster, actually, because I live here.
Well, we've also created 900 spaces in our off-street car parks, which are free of charge.
Right, my concern...
There is free space available for motorcyclists.
Danny, my concern is, as I do live in Westminster and I park in Westminster, and other people, I mean, it's a very, obviously, extremely busy borough. Are you taking car parking spaces for motorcycle spaces?
Well, you're quite right. Westminster occupies a very unique position at the centre of the capital. We have to manage a lot of competing demands, and
so
we have been careful not to erode the space to be used for. Sorry.
So that's a yes. Then you're taking car parking spaces and giving them to bikers.
No, we've been careful not to erode the space that is available for priority users, which includes our residents and disabled drivers, to provide them for motorcycles. What we've done is we've used the Yellow Line space to create this additional space.
Right. Danny, sorry, are you there?
Yeah, hiya, Joe.
Yeah, go on.
Joe, to be honest, it's not really all about you as well. I mean, if you live in Westminster, do you really need a car? Or maybe should you be looking at either getting yourself a little motor scooter or even using public transport? You know,
No, because I pay a fortune. And listen, I've taken the full flack for running a car in London, and I will respond every single time, and it bankrupts me, but I love sitting in my car, and I know it's selfish and everything else, and I pay the cost for it.
You
and
keep on careering into buses, though, Joe.
No, they can. Do you know, buses tend to think that we can fly. Do you know what I mean? They just suddenly move out, and I think, where am I meant to go? Upwards?
A couple of other points I was going to make. To be honest, there's been a couple of cab drivers on moaning about motorcyclists. Now, to be honest, I must admit, I find the black cab drivers pretty reasonable. If they see you come into filter, which is a completely legal manoeuvre, they do tend to edge over. So I don't quite know. They're probably blaming a few of a few of the, shall we say, kamikaze guys that are out there.
But there's an irresponsible minority in all road users,
exactly.
Even pedestrians and cyclists, but of course they do less damage. So we're not trying to point the finger either at car users or bikers on this one. There's a few mentalists in every category.
The other thing, in Europe, you look at the volume of motorcycles in say in Rome or in Paris. But pro rata, there's so few, in the UK, in London.
But
so really, we should be encouraging people to ride bikes.
Can I ask you finally, that what was deemed to be a good idea that you could, that motorcyclists could use bus lanes, and now Boris has reversed that because it was a pilot. What's your take on that?
Right, well, I think it's a real backward step, and I literally only heard that today.
Same
now,
here.
they really need to tell everybody that, because I would have been happily poodling down a bus lane tomorrow.
I must say, though, I haven't confirmed that yet. We did hear that from one texter, so we are going to get confirmation of that.
I've got to be honest, though. I tend to only use the bus lane when I really have to, because I've been riding, too long to remember, really, since I was 17. And, of course, you get into the habit of not going into the bus lane. So I did find it difficult to, just for safety reasons, to use it all the time, because you still get people turning left across you and turning right across you. So, and you do have to ride very defensively.
OK, let's return now to Danny Chalkley from Westminster Council. Danny, thank you very much for your time this morning, Danny. And what would you finally like to say about this? What would you say to the demonstrators who are listening, who are going to be taking part in the demonstration this evening?
Well, can I just pick up the bus lane point?
Yeah.
Because we have actually allowed motorcyclists to drive in bus lanes in Westminster for 4 years. Right. And we did so 4 years before Boris decided to introduce that. And I think that's a demonstration of the fact that, we do very much welcome motorcycles in Westminster. What I would say to the demonstrators is, of course, that they are free to demonstrate. I'm very conscious of the fact that not everybody is happy to pay the charge, but we have to manage what are very, very busy streets, and we're not building any more streets. We have finite road space available, and we have to manage that demand.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Danny Chalkley.
But you see, there you go, Paul. I mean, I didn't know that in Westminster you can use bus lanes. I mean, it is
You're not
so...
a biker, though, are you?
No, but everything is so confusing. I never, ever go in a bus lane.
Never go in a car?
Yeah, but I never go because I'm so confused with what I can and cannot do.
Read
in
the
this
signs,
flaming
normally 7 till 10.
By the time I've read the sign, I've crashed into the bus ahead of me. It is so confusing. Who would know, travelling into London for the first time, in one borough you can use the bus lane, in another borough you can't. It is really confusing.
Read the signs. It's very easy.
It's easy for you because you don't live in the centre of London.
I often drive through it.
Empty.
And hundreds of motorcyclists are demonstrating against parking charges in Westminster today. Members of the No to Bike Parking Tax campaign are demanding Westminster Council abolish the fees.